Star has been aching and paining since day one, and it is that conflict, it is that collision, that sound, and that here's that Japanese shit again. In sumo, that's called tachiai. When they collide, boom, you can hear that all the way across the arena, and that's the sound of Van Halen. Is that there is a mutual push-pull, like you found on all the most colorful football teams and baseball teams. The reason that people still wear, that Oakland Raiders logo. It comes from whatever city it's in today. It hails back to Oakland, California of the late 70s, when they were the wildest bad boys.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible guest this evening. He is the producer of a brand new Van Halen tribute album called the Long Island Van Halen Tribute Album. Fader Istheman. How are you, Fader?
Hey, Dave. How you doing today?
It's awesome, man. Well, listen, I am very excited about this album, which comes out at the end of this month. It is fantastic. It is a 17-track Van Halen tribute album, which is so cool and unique. Wanted to start off, how did the idea for the project come about?
Every year, my wife and I, we do some type of charity work in the music world. Usually we'll do something for St. Jude's Hospital, and we'll put on a concert with a bunch of bands and raise some money for them. Obviously, with COVID and the new world, we cannot do that. When Eddie passed away in October, which, I knew he was sick, but man, what a hit in the face that was. It really hit me. It hit home, being that I grew up with him as my guitar icon and the Van Halen music and everything else, all the innovations, all the stuff with guitar, and just him being just such a great guy on top of it. All the interviews I've seen and things that he's done for music. He's touched so many people in all different genres of music as well. When I heard that news, it inspired us to do a charity for the lung cancer, the New York Research Foundation.
Awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. So now tell me, obviously this is sort of a small window. Did you start right after Eddie's passing in early October, and the album is coming out, is it the 24th of February? That's a tight window.
Yeah, it's actually coming out on February 26th, which is a Friday.
Okay.
And it will be available for right now only on the website. When you purchase it, you get the CD and you get the digital downloads. You get both. So you get the music right away, but you're also going to get the physical CD.
And where can people go to get that?
That's at livanhalentribute.com.
And how much is it?
It's $24.95. It includes shipping. And just, remember, every dime that's made is going to the charity. All the bands donated their time. A lot of the bands actually went into studios and paid for recording and mixing. It's really amazing, not only the Long Island community, but, we have a couple other bands that are not from Long Island, but just everybody who put their time and effort and money into this, in memory for Eddie, to help people hopefully get through a bad experience, with cancer. So from a bad thing, it's a good thing. Plus, you're going to get 17 tracks of amazing music, all Van Halen songs.
Absolutely, and I have heard the entire thing myself, and I can honestly tell you it is worth every penny. For sure, it's all going to charity, and that's all good, which is incredible that you and your wife do that. Just to start off, now tell me, in terms of guitar players, Eddie has meant so much to so many, you know what I'm saying? It's like no matter what type of guitar player you are, no matter what type of musician you are, his death left such a blow to so many different people and so many different walks of life. Obviously, people who listen to this podcast, we're all hardcore Van Halen fans, but he's one of those artists that kind of reach way beyond just the actual Van Halen fans, the hardcores. He's sort of somebody that touched everybody's sort of life in many ways because of his insane creativity. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think because his playing and his style and his techniques and his sound were inspirational for tons of genres. You got to think every guitar player that plays in a band, whether you're in a rock band, a blues band, or a reggae band, a jazz band, whatever it is that you play, you cannot deny that Eddie has come up with something that you use or you don't, or at least your ear went, hey, what is this? Let me try that, I'll just tell you, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but when Van Halen came out, the first time for me when I guess it was around 77, 78. I mean, when I heard that record, I mean, the guitar sound, forgetting the playing, just the guitar sound. I've never heard a guitar sound like that, you know?
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth.
It was like, wow. And it changed everything. It made everyone step up to the plate. You know, then you had all these bands that had the wannabe kind of Van Halen guys. And then you had real amazing guitar players who were inspired by Eddie and developed their own style through many of the things. And, you know, I just feel that throughout his sound, his melodic, I mean, he claims that he's a rhythm guitar player, not even a lead guitar player. Which,
well, that's the thing about Eddie, which is incredible. You know, he's so known for his hammer-ons, for his incredible soloing, but let's get beyond that. For example, he's an unbelievable rhythm field player, and on top of that, an incredible songwriter. So there's so many different levels to Edward. On top of that, I mean, his keyboard playing and his piano playing, unbelievable. A lot of those heavy rock songs he wrote on piano. It's incredible to learn all those different little techniques about it. So I wanted to ask you, how did you go about choosing the bands to partake in this project?
I mean, I'm friends with a lot of the bands that are actually playing on here. And then I also put a little note out. I forget whether I put it out on Facebook or somewhere that we're going to do a tribute and raise money for lung cancer. And a bunch of, you know, bands hit me up, some that I knew, some that I didn't. And it just turned out to be, again, all these guys are just like the greatest. You know, one thing about Long Island and Long Island bands, at least that I've experienced, is, you know, we all support each other. We're all there for each other, you know.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I love that sense of community. It's not really a competition. It's really like, hey, man, we're doing a gig. You want to open for us? Or what can I do to help you? You need to borrow a PA system? You know, whatever it is. I always find that these bands are helping each other in some way or another, and it's nice to have so many great bands on this record.
Yeah, it's true. Now, how did you go about choosing who does what song? What was the process for that?
So I let the bands pretty much decide what they wanted to do, first come, first serve. A couple of bands picked the same one, but, you know, obviously if someone picked it before, they had to come up with something else.
Sure.
That's how it pretty much went. You know, with Zebra, it was kind of funny because Zebra's never really played any Van Halen live. That they don't love Van Halen, but it's just, it wasn't in their wheelhouse. They didn't do it. And so when I was speaking to Randy about it, he's like, oh, man, I don't play like that. What am I going to do? And then, you know, he said to me, well, you know, I know Pretty Woman. And I said, well, you know, dude, that's a great song. I think they did an amazing job with it. You know?
Absolutely. Not only that, but the first time we have a new Zebra recording in a while. So I was very excited about that. Randy's voice works perfect with that. Band sounds fantastic. Was there any squabbles over who wanted what? What was the hotly contested song?
No, you know what? No one was really fighting over the songs. In some ways, a lot of people chose some deeper tracks, which we all know anyway, which I'm glad about.
Yep.
I mean, you know, we have classics like Running with the Devil and things like that on this album, but we also have Atomic Punk and So This Is Love and, you know, things like that. We have a bunch of Sammy songs, you know, as well. And the nice thing, too, is we have, for instance, we have Steel Pulse, which is, you know, one of the biggest reggae bands in the world, and they did a remake of Finish What You Started, and it's just unbelievable. And then you have a girl like Pamela Lewis. She's more of a Broadway type singer / wedding type person, but you know, her love of Van Halen and the music, she approached me and said, can I do something? And her husband put together this acoustic version of Love Walks In, and it's amazing to listen to. I mean, you can feel it. And I just love how all these different genres of music come together for this record and also for the love of Eddie.
Absolutely. And I tell you, one thing for our listeners is that the versions that Fader just explained is two of my favorite moments on the album, which is incredible that you pointed that out. Steel Pulse does this incredible reggae version of Finish What You Started, a song that you never expect to go in that direction that totally works. And then on top of that, Pamela Lewis does this beautiful, very sensitive acoustic version version of Love Walks In. And to hear it on a nice, beautiful female voice, it just blended so nice. That's what I really enjoy about this album, is there's some bands that went the traditional route with the songs, which were fantastic, and then there's other bands that took the song in another direction, which I really, really enjoyed. One thing that was really wild to me that I wanted you to see if you could comment on was the Larry Mitchell version of Hear About It Later. He did this incredible groove on it with the kind of drums and bass, and the funny thing about the song is he doesn't really focus on the guitar. He's more focused on the groove and the melody, and wow, did that come out. And he starts off with a little bit of a Feel Your Love Tonight interlude, and then it goes right into Hear About It Later. Oh, wow, that was really something special.
You know, I had the honor of working with Larry on one of his first records back in the 90s. I've known him a long time. I'm going to, put this out there. Larry is an undiscovered country. And when I say that, he's not undiscovered. Obviously, he's a Grammy award-winning producer, musician. But what I mean by that is he is really, if you've never seen Larry play live and you have the opportunity to see him, which I hope we get back to live music soon.
Sure.
He is one of the most tasteful, amazing, fast, not fast. I mean, he does it all super melodic, and he has a vocabulary that, when he plays and when I say that, I mean on the guitar, he has a vocabulary that just, sometimes I'm like, what are you doing, dude? It blows me away. He's an incredible musician.
Really, that was one of my favorite parts of the album. Holy Mother does this incredible, really dark sort of Rob Zombie-esque version of Mean Street, which I thought was so interesting. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, man. They have a new record that just came out. Holy Mother was a band back, I guess, in the 90s that was originally with Randy Coven, who unfortunately has passed. But they have a resurgence, and they just put out a new record on a German label, and they're doing great with it. You should all check it out. But they were nice enough to do a song for this album, which they're thinking of now actually releasing as a single. I mean, it's just a very hard version of it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Mike Torelli, who sings on it, I mean, his voice is incredible.
Absolutely.
Just incredible.
And then you got Dave Kellen, who takes Ice Cream Man to sort of an acoustic blues thing, which I really enjoyed. Kimmy Company does Right Now with a nice female voice on it. It really gives you different shades and flavors of this incredible music, and it also showcases Ed's songwriting, that it can bend in other directions and still work.
You're right. And I just want to mention to you, also on this record, besides having Zebra, Steel Pulse, and Larry Mitchell and people like that, on Right Now with Kim, you have Guy Gelso playing drums on that as well. You have Joe Caluta, who did a lot of keyboard work with Randy Jackson, and he's from Louisiana. But you also have on this record a band, The Stand, with Mitch Diamond.
Absolutely.
They did Atomic Punk.
Wow, yeah.
And you got guys on that like Bobby Rondinelli, Bruno Ravel on bass. Then on the version of Jump with Susan Aquila and Joey Gem, you have Rod Morgenstein playing drums, and you have Billy Sheehan playing bass.
Wow.
So you have Billy played with David Lee Roth.
Absolutely,
back in the day,
absolutely. And just one of the best bass players of all time. I mean, there's some really incredible things on here. Now, you look at 4 Trips Ahead when they do Drop Dead Legs. They have this incredible swagger. They traditionally handle it. Then towards the end of the song, they add in little guitars. They add in pound cake. It was just such a nice mix.
Yeah, and the cool thing about those guys, they've been around a long time. Peter Wilson, the singer of that band, I mean, he blows me away the way he sings that. And the guitar player, Brian Eisenpresser, is also just an incredible guitar player. I've known him since he's 16, and he was always a virtuoso kind of guy. And then you got Adam and the Metal Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Doing Somebody Get Me a Doctor.
Yep.
And what blows me away, Adam's singing is just off the hook. He's doing all the Dave screams.
Every drop.
All the craziness. But if you listen to the guitar solo on that, it's almost verbatim to the record. And the kid is 17 years old.
Incredible.
And it's got the feel and the sound. It's ridiculous.
It's incredible. The touch is unreal. Mrs. Crabtree does So This Is Love, an incredible dead-on version. Beautiful. Hellgate does a nice blend of 1984 into Panama. Usually 1984.
It's such a great.
Oh, wow. It's unbelievable.
Those guys, let me tell you something. Hellgate blows me away. Their passion and love for the band and their version of Panama is great. And the 1984 keyboard thing, that blew me away for sure. As of right now, there's a video that they just put out, Hellgate, of 1984 in Panama, and they did an incredible job with all green screen stuff. I mean, Corrado you could tell the time he spent making
a lot of
this video.
effort there. You can tell. That's the other thing about the album. You can tell the passion